Why 99% of people never change, and the 1% who do. At some point in your life, you made a promise to yourself. Not out loud, not to anyone else. Just quietly, to yourself, in that moment when you finally saw clearly what needed to change. And you meant it. Not the way people mean things when they want to sound good. You felt it, the kind of certainty that makes you think this time is actually different. And then life continued. Days passed, then weeks. And somewhere in the middle of everything, without a dramatic moment of giving up, without a decision to quit, the promise just dissolved. And here's what makes that so hard to sit with. You weren't lying to yourself when you made it. The version of you that made that promise and the version that quietly broke it, they were both telling the truth. That's the paradox at the center of human change. And until you understand what's actually happening inside it, you'll keep living in the gap between who you intend to be and who you actually are. Section 1: Your brain was not built for the life you want. Let's start with something most self-help content is specifically designed to avoid saying. Your brain is not on your side. Not because it's broken. Because it is extraordinarily good at doing something you never consciously asked it to do, keeping you exactly where you are. The brain didn't evolve for fulfillment. It didn't evolve for growth or purpose or the quiet satisfaction of becoming someone better. It evolved for survival. And in the world it was built for a world of predators, unpredictable food sources, and genuine physical danger. The unfamiliar was frequently lethal. New territory, potential predators. Unknown food, potential poison. Unfamiliar situations, unknown threat. So the brain developed a powerful, automatic response to anything new. Pull back, slow down. Return to what's known. Neuroscientists call this the status quo bias. And here is the part that changes how you see everything. That bias does not care whether your current life is good. It only cares whether your current life is known. The stressful job you've been meaning to leave for 3 years. Known. The habit that's quietly costing you your health. Known. The version of yourself you've been promising to leave behind since you can remember. Known. And known, even when it hurts, even when you hate it, even when you can see exactly what it's costing you, still feels safer than unknown. This is the real reason people stay stuck. Not laziness, not weakness, not lack of information, but an ancient alarm system, built for a world that no longer exists, firing every time you try to move toward something better. The 1% don't have quieter alarms. They've simply learned to move forward while the alarm is ringing. Here's the question almost no one thinks to ask. Not what do I want to do differently, but who do I actually believe I am? Because those are not the same question, and only one of them determines what you'll do tomorrow morning. The mind has what psychologists call a self-concept, a deep, mostly unconscious story about who you are. And embedded in that story is something that functions almost like an immune system. Its job is to keep your behavior consistent with your identity. When your actions match the story, the brain feels settled. When your actions contradict the story, the brain experiences friction, dissonance, a quiet internal pressure to correct course. And it does correct course, almost every time. This is why someone can genuinely want to become disciplined, set the alarm, lay out the workout clothes, go to bed early, and still find themselves, 3 weeks later, back to the exact same pattern. Their behavior isn't failing them. It's succeeding at staying consistent with the identity underneath. I'm not really a disciplined person. I never follow through on things. I always start strong and then lose interest. These aren't observations. They're instructions. And the brain executes them faithfully. The people who genuinely change understand something that takes most people years to see. Habits are just the surface. Underneath every habit is a belief. And underneath every belief is an answer to a question you're probably not asking enough. Who am I? They don't start by changing what they do. They start by quietly, stubbornly, relentlessly casting votes for a different answer. A workout they didn't want to do. A vote. A promise to themselves they kept when no one was watching. A vote. The moment they chose discomfort over comfort for no reason other than this is who I'm becoming. A vote. The identity doesn't change in a single revelation. It changes in the accumulation of days so ordinary you almost miss them. Think about someone, maybe you know them, maybe you are them, who has been meaning to leave their job for 2 years. They know it's wrong for them. They've known for a while. They talk about it. They research other options. They update their resume and then don't send it anywhere. And from the outside, it looks like fear of the unknown. But look closer. Underneath the hesitation is a story they've been telling themselves for years. I'm not the kind of person who takes risks. I'm not someone who walks away from security. People like me don't just reinvent themselves. The job isn't the trap. The identity is. And no amount of job searching will fix a story that says searching is pointless. That's where the work actually begins. This is the hardest one. There is a version of you that exists only in your imagination. A version that is disciplined, successful, fulfilled, the person you would have become if only the circumstances had been right. And that version is precious. Not because it's real, but because it's still possible. It hasn't been tested yet. It hasn't met reality. It lives in the protected space of someday, and as long as it lives there, it remains perfect, intact, and safe from failure. Here's what most people don't realize. Some part of them wants to keep it there, because the moment you truly commit, the moment the dream becomes a real attempt in the real world, the protection disappears. Now it has to survive contact with reality. And it might not. Psychologists call the behavior that follows self-handicapping. Unconsciously arranging your life to make success harder, not out of stupidity, but out of a very intelligent form of self-protection. Because if you never fully try, you never fully fail. And if you never fully fail, the story survives. I could have done something remarkable if only. The story stays alive. The self-image stays intact. The dream stays perfect. And the life stays exactly the same. The people who change are willing to do something that feels almost irrational. They risk the story. They let the dream become real and perfect, exposed, uncertain, fully capable of failing. Because they've understood something that takes most people a lifetime to accept. An untested life, however comfortable, is still a life unlived. And finding out whatever the answer turns out to be is better than protecting a version of yourself you'll never actually become. Here's the uncomfortable truth about the self-improvement industry. It is not primarily in the business of producing change. It is in the business of producing the feeling of change. Because learning about transformation feels neurologically almost identical to actually transforming. When you read about discipline, your brain activates some of the same regions it would if you were actually practicing discipline. A small hit of dopamine, a genuine sense of forward motion, the quiet, convincing feeling that something is shifting. And then you close the book and go back to your life, which looks exactly the same. Psychologists call this pseudo-progress, the substitution of preparation for action. And here's what makes it cruel. The smarter you are, the more susceptible you are. Because intelligence is extraordinarily good at generating reasons why you're not quite ready yet. One more book, one more framework, one more thing to understand before you begin. Every reason is legitimate. That's what makes it a trap. Thoroughness, in the service of avoiding action, is just procrastination with better posture. The people who change have internalized something counterintuitive. You do not think your way into a new way of living. You live your way into a new way of thinking. The clarity you're waiting for isn't on the other side of more preparation. It's on the other side of the first imperfect step. Take it before you're ready. That's not recklessness. That's how it actually works. Section 5. Stop fighting your environment. redesign it. There is a version of this story that is entirely about willpower, about discipline, about mental toughness, about grinding through resistance and proving to yourself that you have what it takes. That version is a lie. Not because discipline doesn't matter, but because willpower is not a personality trait. It's a resource, finite, depletable, spent a little with every decision, every resistance, every moment of choosing one thing over another. Decision fatigue is real. By the time most people reach the choices that matter most, the tank is nearly empty. This is why the most disciplined-seeming people are often not the people with the most willpower. They're the people who have learned to need it least. They don't keep the food they're trying to avoid in their house. They don't rely on motivation to exercise they've made skipping harder than going. They don't fight the urge to scroll they've put the phone in a different room. Behavioral scientists call this choice architecture, designing your environment so that the right behavior is also the path of least resistance. When it works, it's invisible. You don't feel the discipline. You just do the thing, because the thing was the easiest option available. Think about the life you're trying to build. Now ask, what would that person's environment look like? Build that environment, not as a reward for becoming that person, as the foundation for becoming them. The transformation you're imagining will not arrive the way you're imagining it. It won't come as a turning point, a moment of clarity, a dramatic before and after. It will arrive as a Tuesday that looks almost identical to every Tuesday before it, except that on this one, you did the thing again. You held the habit again. You made the quiet choice again that no one saw, that didn't feel significant, that won't make it into any story you'll tell later. And then Wednesday, and Thursday, and the next Tuesday. A 1% improvement compounded daily becomes 37 times better in a year. Not because of heroic effort, because of consistency so unglamorous it barely feels like anything at all. The people who change are not the most intense, they are the most patient. They've let go of the cinematic version of transformation and replaced it with something quieter, stranger, and far more powerful. The practice, not the outcome, not the milestone, the practice. Today, again, regardless of whether it feels meaningful, regardless of whether anyone is watching, especially when no one is watching. There's a story the self-improvement industry loves to tell. The lone individual, the solo transformation, the hero who decided, one day, to become someone different through sheer will, against all resistance, entirely on their own. It's a powerful story. It's also mostly fiction. Humans did not evolve for solitary transformation. We evolved in groups, in tribes where behavior was visible, where accountability was structural, where the people around you shaped what felt normal, possible, and expected. For most of human history, you couldn't quietly give up on something important. Everyone could see you. Modern life has removed that structure, and in removing it, quietly removed one of the most powerful forces for change that exists. The research is unambiguous. People who pursue change with social support, who have spoken their intentions out loud, who have witnesses, who have someone who will notice if they stop, are dramatically more likely to succeed. Not because the goal changes, because the cost of quitting changes. Think of someone in your life who represents the person you're trying to become. Tell them what you're working on. Not for their approval, for the weight of it. For the moment, 3 weeks from now, when it's late and you're tired, and it would be so easy to skip, and you remember that someone knows. You were not built to do this alone. Stop trying. There is a phase of every real transformation that no one talks about. Not the beginning, when the intention is fresh and the future feels genuinely possible. Not the end, when the result has arrived and the story finally makes sense. The middle. The middle is where most people quit. Not dramatically. Not with a decision. Just a gradual return to baseline, so slow it barely registers as a choice. Because the middle is the strangest place. You are no longer who you were. The old patterns have loosened. The old identity has started to crack. The person you used to be is already slightly behind you. But you are not yet who you're becoming. The new identity hasn't solidified. The results haven't arrived. You can't yet point to anything and say, this is proof that it's working. You are in between, unrecognizable to yourself, uncertain whether any of it is real, unable to go back to who you were, unwilling to trust that where you're going exists. From the outside, it looks like failure. From the inside, it feels like being lost. But here is what the people who have been through it know, and what they wish someone had told them while they were still in it. That feeling is not a warning. It is a sign. It means the change is real. It means you have actually left the old version of yourself behind, which means it can no longer define you, limit you, or quietly pull you back. The discomfort of the middle is not evidence that something is wrong. It is the price of admission to a different life. Most people feel it and turn back. The 1% stay. Not because they're braver. Not because they feel less lost. But because somewhere along the way, they learn to read the feeling differently. They learn to recognize the particular discomfort that comes not from going the wrong way, but from going somewhere new. They learn to recognize the feeling of becoming. If you're in that middle right now, tired, uncertain, unsure whether any of it is working, I want you to hear this. The fact that it's hard is not proof that you're failing. It might be the closest thing to proof that you're not. Keep going. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please give it the thumbs up. Leave a comment and click the button to subscribe.